right then, let's talk. We've got the transfer window closed. We'll touch on that in a moment. Can we just talk very quickly about the contract stuff? Because rumours are swirling around Liverpool of what our players signing, our players close to signing, who isn't going, all this kind of stuff. As far as we're aware, we are status quo. Like, there's nothing really to officially report. Because again, it's like Liverpool taxi drivers, and my dad said this, and tweets are going out about like players signing but keeping it hush hush. Like, it feels a bit far fetched to me just looking at this kind of stuff. Whereas, have you heard any whispers, any rumours from more reliable sources than perhaps the rumour mill?
Slot was speaking today about summer plans and certainly didn't give anything away. If a deal has been signed for Virgil and Mo, I think it was a theory that Robbie Fowler floated a few weeks back on, was it Amazon Prime, one of the games for that? I think he was playing golf and he just sort of floated it as a theory, a working theory. I don't know how much, if any, knowledge behind the scenes he's been given on that one, but yeah, certainly no indication that those two have signed new deals, and that is very much as you were. I'm sure supporters would love it to be true, and we all would, wouldn't we? But the contract impasses go on.
Yeah, that's kind of, we are in February now. The good thing, I suppose, Paul, is that they all stayed in January. There's always a risk where if players are coming out of contract, are you tempted to just cash in on them? And Liverpool resisted that. Obviously, I don't know how much interest, if any, there was in Salah or Van Dijk, but we know there was a report where there was interest from Real Madrid for Alexander-Arnold, and Liverpool quickly knocked that one back. So, I remember speaking to you before Christmas, and it was like, next week they can talk to clubs like, Liverpool, maybe they want to look to get a move on. It turns out actually the deadline is the end of the season, really. They've got up until however they need to get things done. But yeah, as we are now approaching February, March, the business end of the season, I don't know, does the agency change? Is it as you were? Because there's so much football happening, Liverpool are going for so many trophies. The last thing you want is any of this stuff really becoming a massive problem. I mean, if it hasn't already, maybe it won't. But yeah, it feels like, yeah, I don't know, like you'd have expected something by now, I suppose.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if it hasn't become an issue by now on the pitch, it's probably not. But with Trent, I was a little bit concerned that January the 1st was going to lead to increased speculation. We know Real Madrid will have been sniffing around the scenes before then. It's just the kind of nature of how it works, and everyone has to accept that. But with the other two, it's always been a feeling of listening to offers externally before they have to look elsewhere. And I think with Salah now, it's a bit of a straight shootout between staying at Liverpool and going to Saudi. How much motivation is there for him to do that? I've seen him sort of making a joke or hearing a joke he made to Gary Lineker. I think he said to Lineker, "You went to Japan," and he said, "Did you go there for the money?" And Lineker said, "Well, I suppose I did." And Salah sort of laughed and said, "Well, I might do that myself." And I think the competitor of Mo Salah will win out ultimately over the sort of the financial demands, if you like. I think he's already, brilliantly paid at Liverpool, the highest ever at the club, but I think he'll probably look at these Premier League records that are tumbling as the longer he goes along, and the club record ones as well. He's now 6th in the all-time list of Premier League scorers. I think he needs 6th to go level with Sergio Aguero, so that feasibly will happen this season. I think it's maybe 9 to move further up in the list after that.
Andy Cole in his hit list.
Yeah. So knowing him sort of as what we've read over the years and seen and stuff, I think he'll put more stock in that than going to Saudi and earning a few more quid, because let's face it, the level in Saudi Arabia football is nowhere near the Premier League and the Champions League, is it? So yeah, I think the hope is that sort of plays out and Salah stays in the end. But with Van Dijk, it's a little bit interesting, because I think while there are probably fewer viable alternatives for Salah in European football, I think loads of clubs will be sort of testing the waters for Van Dijk. And we know he loves the club, and he's the captain of the club, and he sees himself as an integral part of what is happening here now and what is exciting and what's developing. But that doesn't mean that he's not going to have the biggest clubs in the world ringing his agents up. So yeah, it's always been an idea that Salah and Van Dijk are looking to see what is on offer inside Liverpool first. Trent has always been the outlier for that one, as he with Real Madrid, and it is as you were, they are still interested, but still awaiting any sort of significant developments either way.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, like going back to the 30s, like I think the 30s muted is like, you know, they both signed, but they're not signing because it looks bad on Alexander Arnold. They're not going to announce it, that kind of thing. Like, I just can't imagine a world where that's true. And now, listen, I'm saying this right because I was about to say these things already get out. Now, if these rumours are true, then technically they've already got out, kind of thing. But I don't think I've ever heard of a world where a player signed a new contract and the club haven't announced it like almost immediately, because there's a million. You don't want it leaking out. You know, the agency want the kudos of yeah, it's done. The club themselves want to go pat themselves on the back and go, here we are. I don't know, like it felt to me, and again, I'm not disparaging anybody. If people have heard stuff, they've heard stuff. I'm right to report it, but that feels to me like that just doesn't happen. Like I've never come across a situation like this. Have you ever in your journalistic career come across one where a story's been kept hold of for weeks, maybe months, as under the carpet? It doesn't tend to happen.
Not as big as that, no. Yeah. I think the amount of noise that Liverpool are having to deal with at the moment over this situation, you think they will be rolling out the red carpets and getting the club staff, media staff down and giving it all the bells and whistles for Salah and Van Dijk. And, you know, you think of the sort of social media interest that will garner and the videos that they could put together and all that sort of stuff. It'd be huge. It'd be huge for the club. It
would also mean, by the way, Paul, sorry to interrupt you, but like it would mean when Van Dijk and Salah have been asked about it, like they've lied, and I don't think they would even be comfortable. You know, Van Dijk, his last week, there's nothing to report. Salah was the same, there's nothing to talk about. It would be strange for them to come out and just barefaced lie, because it doesn't seem like something that either one would be particularly comfortable doing as well.
Yeah, and they'd have to have a good poker face as well, wouldn't they? Yeah. You know, sort of saying one thing and the absolute or the opposite being true. So, yeah, I don't think there's any sort of those two signed deals, but it's keeping quiet because they don't want to put any additional pressure on Alexander. I'm not really sure what the reasoning even is behind that, really. So, yeah, you know, it will be a huge day for all three of them, really. You know, even when they do sign new contracts, and like I say, all the bells and whistles will be given for the coverage from the club website and sit down interviews and all that sort of stuff, and rightly so, because they are three hugely influential figures at Liverpool and massively important to what's going on behind the scenes, and what is, like I keep saying, shaping up to be could even be a historic season, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely one to keep an eye on, because, like I say, we are in February now, and I mean, we know there's Liverpool's next games. There's a cup semi-final, there's a FA Cup fifth round, then there's a derby, and then there's big Premier League games. If they get through to that final, they've got to go to Aston Villa, they've got to go to Manchester City. The season just keeps ticking over. You half wonder when there's even time to have these conversations for these people, you know what I mean, as well, because now obviously Richard Hughes and agents are involved in this kind of stuff, but it's almost at a point now where last time Salah signed the contract, it was quite late. It really was quite late. You know, he was on Aldi. He was on Aldi.
Gets announced the final day of June.
Yeah, he was away. Now again, this can't really be that, because I mean maybe, but like he's about to be a free agent in a few months. But yeah, I'm trying to think of a time when what would you be waiting for? You know, if you are holding on to it, when are you holding on to? Because there's so much happening now. There's no ideal time to announce this other than please announce it right now.
Yeah. I mean, even the sort of how you execute the confirmation of it all, the announcements, I'm sure all that's been poured over by the website staff dozens of times in recent months. You know, what the best way to execute it and sort of get maximum reach and all that stuff. Because remember, there was a little bit of a game, wasn't it, when Salah signed his last contract with Rami Abbas tweeting, and then
you got involved, didn't he?
Yeah. What was it? Was it an egg time?
I think Jamie Carragher has a go at him, and then it turned out he was. Yeah, he wrote like I think eyes emoji or something, and I think
enough is enough. Yeah. Something like, he said something, didn't he? And then it was all part of a little bit of a concerted plan to announce Salah had signed it on the Greek island of Mykonos, and you know, you'd imagine that Liverpool will have a big plan for when they can announce it, but at the moment it doesn't look like anything is imminent.
Yeah, absolutely. Fingers crossed.
I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with.
If they've got to sign first, that's the problem. Really got to get I wanted Van Dijk in front of his Christmas tree again at Christmas, but obviously that ship sailed now, so maybe it can be I don't know, with all the trophies they win this season, maybe they can sign it surrounded by them. That'd be nice, because it's weird this, because it's we're having such a good season, Paul, and it's like, you know, you mentioned there potentially historic season. No one's saying the Q word yet, but technically at this time recording, it's still very much there. No one's jinxing it, and no one wants to get ahead of themselves, because people still call 2022 the quad season. They didn't win a quad. It's a cup double season in the end, but no one ever says that. But that is going here. But parallel to it is this situation with the contracts. And, 3 of the club's biggest players, best players, still in the. It feels like you're on 2 separate tracks here, because if you go down that way, you're thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. But you look over there and you can't forget that this is still happening as well. It's been a strange.
It's the eternal struggle, isn't it, of what's happening on the pitch and what's happening in the sort of transfer departments, if you like, the recruitment departments. And those two sort of parallels are becoming increasingly sort of opposed, aren't they? We've just heard all month so many people on social media and stuff demanding for transfers, whereas on the pitch it's all been a bit serene. Liverpool have been winning games and increasing leads and looking like they're going great guns in every competition. So it's just a little bit of a contrast. But I don't want to hear any quadruple talk. I'm sick of hearing about it, because we spoke about it loads last season. We spoke about it in 2022. I just don't worry about it. Don't focus on that. I think the primary aim is winning the Premier League, and if that is all Liverpool end up with this season, it's been an absolutely phenomenal season, and one we'll never ever forget. I don't want to hear any talk of anything else. We'll cross the bridges when we get to them. We'll cross them bridges as and when we get to them. But as it stands, as far as I'm aware, again, not on the contract stuff yet. Hopefully that does change, and I'm sure it'll be welcomed with open arms if it does. Have you got an idea in your head of how you'd have to go about it when you get there? I don't know if you pre-planned this kind of stuff. Have you got something half written or something like that ready for it? No, I haven't actually. You might want to think about that. I know, probably should get a few ducks in a row, shouldn't I? And line some long reads up for that was all. There must be an intern or someone who can do some work for you in the meantime. Yeah, work experience. But now it'll be all hands on deck if and when any of them are announced. Really, if they all get announced as one, that's going to be an incredible sort of, that would be historic. Unique, wouldn't it, really? But we'll see. We shall see. Absolutely. Fingers crossed it happens sooner rather than later.